is on yet. He may be. So he did want to just briefly introduce himself. It was a last minute addition. Again, I didn't see him on there. I'll have to go back and look at the list of people. So what I'm thinking is we will just start. Jay, if you are comfortable, we'll have you start with a financial update. So Jay, if you are ready to jump in, we'll do that. And then if our new state rep joins us, we'll just have him jump on afterwards. So Jay, let me know if screen sharing works for you. And if not, I will share my screen.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Great. I was having a little unstable Wi-Fi connection on my laptop, so I just dialed in with my phone as well. Abigail, why don't you go ahead and share your screen, if that's all right with you?
Sorry, and I think, thank you. Our rep is going to join us. So we'll just have our rep join us after Jay goes. So Jay, give me 1 second. And I will mute myself once you confirm that this is the correct thing.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Great. I will try to keep this relatively brief. I'll start with our donations on the upper right-hand side of the highlighted box. And our donations were relatively flat, up a little bit in 2021 versus 2020 at around $19,500. And you can see the breakout of the donations from UPNA or directed towards UPNA, Friends of Union Park, and the Tree Fund. You can see the longer term trends there. Took a little bit of a dip in 2020 versus 2019, I think, as COVID continued to hit in those years. People were directing their money, understandably, to food banks and other support for first line workers. But we definitely brought in enough money to support our ongoing needs at the park as well as in the neighborhood. Turning to the balances in the upper left-hand corner, the finances remain quite strong. You can see at the end of 2021, we had 47. If you go to column H, Abigail, $47,000 in all of our accounts. We have several different funds and accounts. UPNA and Friends of Union Park are the two primary ones. And then we have a tree account that people have been donating to maintain the trees in the area and in the park. And then Alan Seletsky, when he passed away, there was a fund that was generated in order to create events in the park. That has slowed down in the last year or two. We're hoping to restart those events in the park in 2022. And then there's some money also set aside to improve the crosswalks in some of the dangerous Tremont Street intersections in our neighborhood. So, and then we've also have a current balance of, it's roughly the same, unchanged from last year, around $47,000. There's an additional, a little over $11,000 in a CD at Hingham Bank. So in total, we're looking at around $58,000, which is more than ample based on our spending needs. At the very bottom in the left-hand corner, you can see some of the spending patterns on some of our major categories. We've had no events in the past 2 years. We've donated modest amounts of money to organizations like South End Baseball and South End Soccer. And then there's street cleaning, is keeping our neighborhood looking clean. So we have someone coming by and picking up trash in the neighborhood every Tuesday and Friday, unless there's snow on the ground. Then we have tax preparation fees and filing fees and some modest office fees for printing and website maintenance and email communications. So that's all I have, and glad to take any quick questions.
Thanks, Jay. So if people have questions, you can put them into the chat or raise your hand, and I will go a little bit detailed into more of the FUP spending when we go into that. So if anyone has any questions before Jay signs off, I don't think I see any. Oh wait, yes, Greg, if you want to unmute yourself, please.
Yep. Yeah, Jay, just one quick question. The crosswalks, the $10,000, that's almost 10,000 there. Is the UPNA funding something different than what I thought the city was actually doing with the work that's going on right now?
Yeah, so this money came in the door way back in 2018. And it was in response to some of the accidents that were happening. And the intent of that was to create some flashing lights and some additional enhancements for safe crosswalks. And not surprisingly, it's taken a number of years to get the city focused on this issue. And while we were working on that in 2018 and 19, the larger Tremont Street project got initiated. And now we need to figure out, once that is settled, whether there remains a need for the additional crosswalks or whether the enhancements that will be taking place in the next couple of months are sufficient. And then we would need to figure out what to do with that money that was dedicated for crosswalks. And that could be returning the money or reaching out to the people that donated it and seeing if they just wanted to reallocate it to general needs.
Jay?
Okay, great. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Jamie.
Okay, tell me a little bit more on that. Just to follow up, so with the previous administration, Mayor Walsh had agreed to this project where we would pay for the flashing beacons. The city would install them and service them. Then we had this Tremont Street redesign project. And also under the last administration, they indicated that it would still be possible to do that after the redesign. With the new administration, I reminded them of all this, and they have indicated that they will not allow that to happen. They're putting in a crossing, a lighted crossing over near Appleton, but they do not want to have it in our neighborhood. So indeed, we will be, I have the names and addresses of the people who donated, about $10,000, and we will indeed contact them, and hopefully they'll agree to have it be used for something else to improve the neighborhood.
Thanks
for the update, Jamie.
And Andy, you're next with the raised hand.
Hey everyone, Jay, new to the neighborhood, and was just curious if you could explain the two different buckets, the Friends of Union Park bucket and the Neighborhood Association bucket.
Sure. Andy, well, first of all, welcome. Glad to have you in the neighborhood. I will start with the explanation, and then Abigail or Jamie, who's a past president, can chime in afterwards. But the Union Park Neighborhood Association is meant broadly to support the entire neighborhood, which I think well, I'm going to let someone else describe which streets it extends to, but it's a broader nonprofit organization. Friends of Union Park was started a number of years ago, which is solely dedicated to the upkeep and maintenance of the park on Union Park Street. So there is a lot of collaboration. We file taxes together. We have a similar board that oversees it. But I'm going to pause there and let Abigail or Jamie kind of fill in the historical, if Andy, you want a little more explanation.
I can say something here. Just so you know, the neighborhood does extend from Tremont Street to Harrison Avenue, from basically East Dedham, West Dedham, but not including Villa Victoria, West Dedham, up to where Frenchie's restaurant is. So that's our neighborhood. It's about 8 square blocks. And indeed, at one time, the Union Park Neighborhood Association was just Union Park. And decades ago, it expanded to this wider footprint. And with that, the Friends of the Park became a committee within Union Park Neighborhood Association. So Union Park Neighborhood Association is a broad area. It's a nonprofit, tax exempt, and the park and park maintenance is part of the association.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you.
And I
Appreciate it.
am gonna get into the park financials as well, Andy, in a second, and explaining a little bit more about the park. But now that our new rep is on, I'm gonna interrupt everything for a second unless anyone has any last questions for Jay.
You can also come back to me with any further questions. I think we should go to our rep.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jay, for your time on this and very detailed, helpful report. So in our neighborhood, there was some redistricting. So our new rep just wanted to introduce himself. Just because of a time crunch, I asked him to just introduce himself and not to take questions, just to keep us on track. If we end up having a lot of questions for him, we'll definitely have him come back to one of our meetings. But also, if people want to put questions for him in the chat or anything like that, we will have that there. And I can also share contact information later. So I wanted to welcome our state rep, John Santiago. So he'll introduce himself and everyone can meet him.
Great. Well, thank you, Abigail, and thank you for taking me out of turn. And I'll be very quick here because I want to be respectful of your agenda and of your meeting. And again, more than happy to hop on a future meeting, have a more extended conversation about my interests and my goals and my activity in the neighborhood. So just a couple of clarifications. So I'm not your rep just yet, but I will hopefully be, should I be elected again, the coming year. As many of you know, I see some familiar faces in the virtual room. Aaron Michaelwitz is your current rep because of redistricting. Aaron actually had the largest district in the whole state, and he had to retreat back to the north end where he is from. And so me, as the other rep who represented the South End, and I had the majority of the South End, now I have even more of the South End, almost all of the South End. Aaron is actually still has a small part of it. But over the course of these next couple of months, this year, the election September, the general being November, I am running for re-election. I do plan to hopefully win that and represent you at least for the next 2 years. And so that's what I'm on this phone call just to introduce myself. I live on Claremont Street. I live all over the South End, Tremont, Warren, West Canton. I've been in the legislature for 2 terms. Next year will be my 3rd term in the legislature. I have a long background in public service. In addition to my role as a state representative, I'm also a physician. I'm an ER doctor at Boston Medical Center, where I continue to work. And I'm a major in the Army Reserve. Still quite active in the community, care about a whole host of issues. I've been very active in COVID, given my public health and medical background, but also very active on the opioid issue, mass and CAS. It's been an issue that I've cared very much about long before I was a state rep, as a neighbor who was picking up needles, as someone who treats these patients. It's been a focus of mine. So just wanted to quickly introduce myself. I'm happy to jump on a call later, having more extended conversation. I did want to quickly introduce Corey Asman. He's a staff member, my chief of staff. My goal is to have a member of my staff on your meetings. If I can't be there, we're very committed to being in touch and active and involved in the community. So you will always be seeing us. And so don't hesitate to reach out to us if we can be helpful. Obviously there's a difference between the role of your state rep and senator and your city councilor. But your city councilor is a good friend of mine, Ed Flynn, and we collaborate on a whole host of issues. And don't be afraid to use my office or me as your advocate, even on city issues. So I'll put my email in the chat, and obviously, feel free to get in touch with me if you see me in the neighborhood, because I just had my firstborn child. He's 7 weeks, and so we're walking around quite a bit. So if you see me, say hi, and I'm happy to have any conversation. But again, my email will be in the chat, and please feel free to reach out. Thank you again, Abigail, and I'll let you guys get back to your meeting.
Thank you so much. And thank you for sliding in. Thank you for Corey for putting the contact information for all of you there. John, congratulations. Also on the new baby. And again, I will, if we need to have more of a question time, we'll make sure that we schedule that for the next general meeting. So thank you for understanding that. So I'm gonna jump back in to financials. And I apologize, the only way I can look at notes and screen share is to have a smaller version of this. So hopefully everyone can see my screen while I can also be looking at my notes. So this is the breakdown in spending for the Friends of Union Park, the Friends of Union Park Committee. As Jay and Jamie were explaining, the Friends of Union Park Committee is solely focused on the park, and therefore it is a restricted fund that can only be used on the park. So our spending this year for landscaping contract was about $8,000 right here. Fountain maintenance, which is cleaning the fountains. Sometimes our wonderful fountain maintainer, Eric, will be out here 3 or 4 times in a week in the spring when there's a lot of pollen. That's also replacing lights, it's replacing filter systems. So sometimes this number will be a little bit less, and every, I'd say 3 to 5 years, we do have something that's a larger cost. There was a broken sprinkler this year, so that was an unexpected cost that we had to deal with. And then decorations and plantings were actually $1,000, but 500 of that will be in our 2022 report because of my delay in getting the receipts in for that. As a reminder, the decorations cover all of the wreaths which go around the park, the holiday lights, which do end up needing to be a few strands a year replaced, and then the plantings are what go in the urns. So our total spending, again, technically 500 more, but tax-wise, $11,232 last year. In terms of, and I will have questions after this, just finishing the summary. In terms of what we're doing right now, we just had reseeding done this week. That is a continued cause that we are working on. And we also are looking at the central fountain areas. We are now considering a larger investment in updating the central fountain areas now that the grass is doing a little bit better. And we do have a few more years until we need to do any more tree trimming. So those are sort of the main costs. And we are looking towards opening things up a little bit more for activities in the park this year as well, which we're excited about. So I'm gonna stop sharing this just because I want to see if anyone has questions, but if anyone needs me to pull up the financials again, I can. So does anyone have questions about what we spent the money on or what we're working on right now for the Friends of Union Park? Doesn't look like it. Sorry, let me just check the chat really quickly. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next committee, but we can always come back to anything that we're going over right now at the end. Let me share my screen again. Okay, so probably what everyone has heard about the most is the rodent remediation committee over the past year. Last year, we started out the spring with a walkthrough of the city, and a group was able to do another walkthrough this year. I want to thank Bob Williams, Jamie Fox, and Nancy Blaisdell for attending the walkthrough. That was extremely helpful to have us represented. We also, through that walkthrough, have sort of moved on to trying to make some new changes. The city is reviewing possible subsidization of the trash bin, of more trash bins in the neighborhood that people can have at their residences. That will not be in 2022. It might be in 2023. And also the rodent remediation committee is reviewing possible subsidization from the UPNA. There's also a new project called Project Oscar, which is bringing composting into the city. It's a trial project, but they have put a compost drop box at the South End Library, which is at 685 Tremont Street, but I think they have 8 other locations, and that will help with removal of access to food for rodents. Through this walkthrough, the city said that our reporting, our neighborhood through 311 has been absolutely amazing, and it has made a difference, and they are showing up and noticing what's happening more in our neighborhood because of it. So they really encouraged us to keep making reports through 311. And I'll explain what those reports look like in a minute. And then the city is also considering creation of a task force. So I want everyone to note this, that a task force does not yet exist. And that's why we as a small community have been really pushing this issue, is because other cities around us like Newton, Somerville, Cambridge are putting more general city efforts into road remediation, but I will say that our local reps are really coming, and Councillor Flynn, I think, was at both of the walkthroughs. I know other reps from the city were as well. So we really, really appreciate that our local people are present, but we also need the city to step in. So just some reminders for the neighborhood. We really need people to both stop dumping and also report dumping. So when I'm talking about dumping, that means the corner of Shawmut and Upton. That's an issue, and the city said that those are things they used to take it for before COVID that might be coming back again. They've given us warnings. Dumping also means the area, I believe it's on Ivanhoe, someone can correct me later, but again, it's just huge stacks of trash bags. That also occurs on Tremont Street. If you have the ability to use a trash bin, they really, really, really want us to do that. To report dumping, you can take a photo and send it to 311. The same with reporting a rodent sighting. You can take a photo, or you can just send in a report on an app to 311, download it, it's amazing. And then you can also report other things, like I know that people have been posting a lot of photos of piles of, I say animal feces here to be polite, but dog poop bags littered all over the ground. That's not acceptable. The dog poop bags need to be placed into a trash bin. If the trash bin is one of the city provided bins and it's full, go to another bin, or please bring it to your home to dispose it. The city said this has been a huge issue. I already brought up the city compost, but there's also personal compost programs that we've discussed before, and then using your sink disposal. And then finally, I know we've also said this before, but removing bird and animal feeders, that continues to be something of concern. So we are very, very active as a committee. It is very hard to meet regularly because we're all very busy, but we are trying. We do have another meeting of the Rodent Remediation Committee set up for, I think, 2 weeks from now. So we are still very active. So I will now stop sharing again so I can see if anyone has questions about any of the road remediation activities. If you want to join the committee, shoot me an email. But does anyone have questions? And other board members who've done the walkthroughs or anything are welcome to add to any questions that people may have.
This is Jamie.
Hey, Jamie.
Hi. So I've been on the walkthroughs, and one thing that's clear is that there's a lot of bags on the ground, and so as well as small trash cans that are overflowing. The best thing that we can do is to have a large trash can that's industrial strength. For example, we put behind our building a 96-gallon industrial strength trash bin. It's the same size as the recycling bins, which basically prevents rats from getting at the bags inside. We've been raising some money, and indeed, if some buildings cannot afford to purchase their own bin, they're only about $100, by the way, we can help. But I think it's important. In fact, there happens to be a city ordinance that's not enforced that says that all trash must be in a rodent resistant container. That is, putting bags on the street or on the corner technically is illegal. The city doesn't cite people for that, but it's not a good idea regardless. We'd like to see bags put into receptacles that will keep the contents from rodents. So if you have any questions about those barrels, certainly let us know.
And just to follow up on that, once we go through approval of an initiative to be able to reimburse people for that, again, we're hoping the city might offer that, but they did tell us that they cannot do it in 2022. So hopefully at the next RRC meeting, we'll have a formal decision that we can announce about that. Any other questions before I move to the next point? Oh, wait a minute. Yes. 1 second. Sorry. So just someone's asked me a question. So we have not, as a committee or the UPNA board, approved reimbursement at all for the bins, but we are going to review that proposal and put it to a vote at some point soon. If that's the direction that we go in. We have been reviewing a lot of different proposals, including, I think I touched upon this in the fall, but we spent a significant amount of time looking into birth control for rodents. It's called, a company we were looking into is called Contrapest. That is not off the table, but it is extremely expensive. And also, if it's not used in a larger space, like than just the UPNA area, it might not be as helpful. So we're trying to, before we spend any of the UPNA money or put together a vote to spend it, we're being very, very careful to make sure that we are literally looking at every option. We are considering everything. So
Abigail, I'm sorry if I misspoke about reimbursement. A little premature, I understand.
no worries.
regardless
I
of
just wanted to
reimbursement-
clarify in case just someone was asking the question about that. So I wanted to add that in.
Regardless of reimbursement or not, the barrels are not expensive, and they're really effective.
Thanks, Jamie.
The buildings can buy, like our building bought one. It's $100. It's a good investment of money, that's for sure.
Awesome. All right, we're gonna keep going. I'm liking this, moving the meeting. All right, so sorry, let me share my screen again. All right, so just in terms of activities, we are continuing to the COVID consciousness. We do know that for those who believe in vaccines, there are some young children who still are not vaccinated. So we are moving forward with events with caution. One event which would be put on by us would be just in the park, more just general activities committee event that you think of. So music, things like that. We're still talking about what makes sense. Like, do we have food? Will that be a concern for people? What do we want to limit? Things like that. So we really want to have events. We want to bring those back. We have money that we can spend on that. So please know that we are trying to balance everyone's comfort level. But right now we are assuming that we will have an event on May 21st to sort of open up the season. And then Fête de la Musique should be back. There's some kinks that we have to iron out, but we are hoping that we'll be able to open up a park again for that. And the kinks are on our end. They're not on the, I don't remember what CMBCB stands for. It's Community Music Center of Boston, I believe is what puts it on. So just keep those in the back of your mind. And then I don't know if anyone sorry, does anyone have any questions about the events? Any raised hands?
Can I say something?
Yes, Jamie.
Sorry. Okay. And this reflects back to, I forget his name, who introduced himself as new to the neighborhood. I'm sorry if I don't recall your name. And about the differences between the park and so forth. What's important to know about the park is, even though it's a city park, hi there, even though it's a city park, the city does not maintain it. We do. There was an agreement long ago that the park can be locked and we open it when we want to for whatever events we need to, concerts, sometimes weddings, things like that. But then in exchange for us controlling access to it, we have to maintain it. And indeed, it's one of the nicest looking parks in the city, because we, and well, I should say the subcommittee does a terrific job at maintaining it. And partly it's kept locked, which limits the amount of foot traffic and dog traffic in there. So it's a city park, but it's privately run, basically.
Thanks, Jamie. Appreciate that.
Sure.
So let me move on. Thank you to the next piece, and then we're done with the committees. This sort of falls under, whoops, sorry. Share screen. So then the last piece is, over the last year, we did have a group get together to work on graffiti removal. Thank you to Christine Parker for initiating the group forming and organizing the day cleanup. We might have another round of graffiti cleanup if we need to. So please keep an eye out. We always need volunteers for things like that. And then also please know the website has been under construction for a lot longer than we thought it would be. Joseph Racuglia and I have been working on it. There's just some little kinks that we're working on. This does mean that the UPNA club card program has been delayed, and we apologize for that. It's just sort of one extra thing with everything else going on that we are trying to get done. So please know, we know that people are looking for the club card. They're excited about it, and we hope that the website will be at least active enough for the club card information to be, I think it's scanned and to go to the website, but we are aware of it. And again, you can go onto the website to join the listserv, to donate and all that stuff. So hopefully the new website will be going relatively soon. So then the next piece is the Tremont redesign. I want to be extremely clear that I am not representing the city in any capacity. I did invite the Tremont redesign people to participate, and things did not work out for them to come. But I've seen on message boards and things like that a lot of confusion about what is going on at the end of our neighborhood blocks. So I did send out with this meeting a PDF to download. Please look at the downloaded PDF. This is not a clear picture, but I just wanted to highlight something. The city has done a lot of research into safety, especially at the end of our block. This right here says Union Park. Again, please download the PDF. This is on page 3 of the PDF. This will be an ADA accessible raised crosswalk. So right now, what everyone is seeing is not ADA accessible. People are having to walk. I think it's kind of set up where you either have to walk this way or you have to walk this way to get to the other side of the sidewalk. If you have a mobility issue, if you have a stroller, maybe for little kids, it's a steep step off. So please, please, please take the time to read the information that I sent out, and also tell your neighbors about it. We do have the bike lanes coming. There's been a lot of debate about that. We are going down to 1 lane. There is debate about that. All of this is explained. If you go to the City of Boston Street Safety Toolkit, again, I emailed this out ahead of the meeting. They explain why they are doing some of what they are doing. So I know at the end of Union Park, have lost 2 parking spots. That is why I put this picture in here. So there have been some curb extensions to allow, sorry, I'm going backwards to this, for things like this raised crosswalk, but also for more visibility of people crossing the street. So we did lose parking spots, but it is for added safety. It's hard to tell from this picture. This is from the City of Boston website. But if you sort of look in this photo that I've highlighted, this crosswalk is slightly up a little bump. So the bumps, the raised crosswalks we are getting are not a huge uptick. It is a sort of, think about a speed bump that's spread out a little bit more, which will require cars to slow down, see the pedestrian on a higher eye level. It's all explained much more eloquently on the Tremont Street redesign site. These are also some other examples. They talk about high visibility crosswalks. They call it road right sizing, which is what they mean when they say bringing us from a 2-lane road down to a 1-lane road and then having a separated bike lane. When they're talking about safety, they're talking about safer crossings, but they're also talking about safer turns and hopefully having speeds slow down. So I'm not going to ask for people to share questions with me because, again, I am not a city representative. I just thought from what I've been seeing, it's important for everyone to have access to this. If you have questions about the design or the general project, you can go to BTD. This is the transportation department. Go to their website. There's a phone number and email address there. This is in progress. They are not going to change the design, but they can explain elements to you. If you're having difficulty, for example, you need accommodations during construction, like as I said, right now, the crosswalk at the end of Union Park can be a little bit scary to work on, walk around. You are welcome to reach out. Again, this is on the website, to the project manager or the on-site superintendent. I definitely encourage people, I'm going to stop sharing for a second, to ask questions about this. We couldn't get someone to join us today, but I did think it was important that I just briefly went through it. So check back in the email I sent. I think it went out at 7 a.m. this morning that had these attachments. If you cannot find them, feel free to shoot me an email at upna.president@gmail.com. But definitely go onto the City of Boston website. There's so much helpful information. I was definitely confused by what was going on, even though we've had people come to our meetings in the past. So it's a really, really helpful website. So I'm going to move on. Jamie, I don't know if you unmuted and wanted to say something.
Add one thing. I believe that the raised crosswalk is already there at the end of Union Park. It hasn't, the lines haven't been painted, but you have that slow rise and decline already in there. If people want to look at it.
Perfect. All right. So again, I'm not opening up for questions only because I'm not the expert in this scenario. So thanks, Jamie, for adding that on. So then the last piece is, I have to share my screen again. Sorry, guys. So this is the sort of the most important element, is selecting our board for the upcoming year. So I've organized it in terms of who is running again for election, and their streets where they live, and then our new candidates. We have 3 new candidates over here on the right side. As a reminder, I am the current president, Jamie Fox is the vice president, and Jay Leopold is the current treasurer. So those are our officers. There are 2 ways that we can run this election. I have created a poll, which should be hopefully foolproof, but I've created a poll where people can vote for every single person that they want to vote for. The other option is, because we are not meeting capacity of the board, we can have up to 15 members. We can choose to not do a person by person vote, and we can make a motion to just do an across the board, i.e. every single person on here is elected. So before we discuss whether to do that, does anyone have any questions about what I just explained? And I probably didn't explain it super eloquently. So our 2 options are going to be electing every single person, which would be a motion to just do it all in one go, or the other option is I have a poll that can be completed if people want to do that, and in the poll you can select only the people that you wish to elect to the board. So does anyone have questions about those options? Oh yes, Jay.
Might I propose that we just ask if anyone objects, that is on this call, if anyone objects to voting as a slate, and then if someone objects, then we can go to the poll.
And one piece of information, since you did mention the president, vice president, treasurer, the neighborhood elects the board, and then the board elects the officers. So we're only electing who's going to be on the board. And indeed, personally, I would, historically, this has not been a contentious process, except for a couple of years when we had more than 15. Where we had to indeed do the vote. So I would recommend that we endorse the entire slate, but that's just my opinion.
So just quickly before we does anyone have any further questions about the 2 options, and then we can move to the next part? Look at this, everyone's so easy. Okay, so I'm going to make a motion that we vote on, as Jay put it, the full slate of people. Are there any objections to that? Seconds? You guys can unmute yourselves.
I second that proposal. Abigail, this is Christine.
Thank you. No objections, it looks like. Okay, so we're gonna take a vote. If you are not comfortable voting, you can send me a direct message. Otherwise, if you vote in favor of the whole slate, you just need to put your thumbs up either like this, or you can use the thumbs up option on your computer thing, your reaction, I think is what it's called, which would look like that. So please do so at this time. Just stay there because I just want to. And please, if your screen is off, be sure that you use the thumbs up. It's under the reaction button.
And the reaction may come off after a little while.
It is
too, so you
starting
might
to
just
come
have
off.
to-
I'm trying to, it looks to me like we have a majority. I believe we have a majority of this group has voted in favor. So thank you everyone for participating in that. I will make that note. All right, so we are gonna have a last moment for questions. I do wanna make a plug for people to follow us on Facebook and also on Instagram. The Instagram is, I think, about a year-ish old, maybe a year and a half. Facebook has been around for a while. The Facebook group can also be used similarly to the South End Community Board. We very much welcome people asking questions there and giving ideas. And we put in sort of, linked the Instagram to the Facebook. We also will sometimes put events on there as well. So please do find us on social media. It's a great way to just stay in the loop about various things in the neighborhood. I often will post things like when the compost thing was announced, I posted that onto our Instagram stories. So we do use the stories to sort of share other things that are going on off of social media. Awesome. Sorry, I'm checking the chat again. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing. So now really my goal is to be done by 8. So I'm very excited that we're only 45 minutes in. I really want to make sure that everyone can ask any more questions they have about anything that we went over today. I know I am a fast talker. Just a reminder, we reviewed information from the treasurer about our accounts, the Friends of Union Park Committee, activities, graffiti removal, rodent remediation. We had our hopeful new state rep introduced. I feel like I missed something, the website update and the Tremont Street redesign, which is the only thing I won't answer questions about. So anyone else have any questions from any of that? Always feel free to shoot me an email if you have something that comes up in the neighborhood that you feel should be brought to the attention of the board. We still have people who are volunteering for committees. I really appreciate all of the renewed interest in joining committees and the board. Oh, Andy, yep.
There we go. Since we had some time, I was curious if you could elaborate a little bit on what the club card was, the UPNA club card.
Sure. So that was really something, and Jamie, feel free to jump in, that Jamie initiated for people making a donation to the UPNA, either the general fund or to the Friends of Union Park. They would get this club card. It's like kind of just like looks like a credit card, and you can get deals at local restaurants, like a free dessert or 10% off the meal. And then you can get discounts at stores in the neighborhood. It's pretty wonderful. Again, we really want to bring it back, or Jamie has worked to bring it back, but you do have to scan something from the website. And so that's why there's the little snafu. But Jamie, do you want to add anything explaining?
Sure. Yeah, we started the program about 6 years ago. And we had about 24 restaurants, which would, and the nice thing about the club card is you could use each of the, we called it an UPON, as in Union Park UPON, as more often as you wanted to. So you could go weekly, for example, to Aquitaine or whatever, or various restaurants, and get a free appetizer with your meal and free dessert. We suspended the program voluntarily on our initiative when the pandemic hit, out of concern for restaurants, and some of the restaurants that are on the card have disappeared, unfortunately. I've re-signed some of the restaurants, and what basically you do is, again, you have a card that's sent to you if you donate. And you bring a card and you go to the website and you print out this coupon and you go to the restaurant with it. You can also have the coupon on your phone. So there's different ways of doing it, but the best way is you print it out, you bring a card and you get the discount. So hopefully we'll have that back up and running soon. It's a great benefit. You can save hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, depending how much you eat out.
Quite a bit in this neighborhood. So thank you, Jamie.
Thanks, Jamie. Any other general questions about how things work or anything? Greg, yes.
Yeah, Abigail, one thing that came to mind when you were giving the rodent update, and then actually back to Jay's summary of the financials. So the individual that we pay on Tuesdays and Fridays to do street cleaning after everybody puts their trash out. I never thought about this before, but has anybody ever thought about using that individual or their service to actually put bins out, and I'm on Union Park, so I don't know if it's possible in the other streets, but you could put large bins, at the ends of the park, or maybe in 2 or 3, spaces in the front, and ask people to actually put anything that's, their trash, not recyclable, into those bins, and basically pay that as a service. They'd have to store them somewhere and bring them in the winter it's probably not possible, but is that feasible, or is there? Never thought about that before.
We do have UPNA bins. Those actually get filled up with a lot of the trash that John picks up. Please say hi to him. He wears a UPNA shirt when he's walking around. The committee reviewed even bringing in dumpsters, because the amount of trash the trash is pretty insane. So like, even if you just look on the corner of Shawman and Upton, I'm just using that as an example, guys, because it's really easy to visualize that one pile. I think we thought about that, the fact that we'd need actually a dumpster to fit all of the excess trash. So we didn't feel that we would, like, looking into pricing, we just didn't think of how we could afford it. We also did consider asking John, of course we would pay for an extra time, if maybe he could help with some of the pest control, like even the birth control management, and it was felt that we might need a professional company. We've thought of so many different ideas. Like, John has definitely come up a few times, and like, how can we use this person who's in the neighborhood already? We haven't counted him out, but I think unfortunately we don't, at least when we, I guess measured is the wrong word, but when we thought about how many trash bags are out, we determined we'd need an actual dumpster, unfortunately. Otherwise, like, that's an awesome idea, but I think there are too many bags to just have, or we'd have to have it like 10 trash bins.
I was thinking it might be 10 or 12 that he just brings in, but and I appreciate your response. So anyhow, it's just an idea. One other thing, I just I joined the board last year, and I'll go off mute or back on mute in a moment, but I joined last year, and I just want to thank Abigail for your service. I see a lot of that as a member on the committee for the FOP as well, but you're super committed to our neighborhood, and like, probably not everybody fully understands just how much you do in the background. So I just wanted to say thanks, and it's been great to get to know you, and I can't wait to do that in a non-COVID environment as well.
Thanks, Greg.
like
I have to say we have a pretty amazing board, and I'm so excited for the new members. I didn't do an introduction because not all of the new people were able to be on today, but I just have to say that the amount of time that people put into this, and like, I see Nancy at the top of my screen, and she was right there in pouring rain walking around, and Greg, you showed up to deal with the holiday lights last minute. So I really thank you. And also I really just appreciate this neighborhood and all the work that people put into it. And it really shows. And again, seeing Christine, Kristen, everyone really on our board worked so hard. And then, as I said before, the committees, like Bob is on right now, not a member of the board, but works super, super hard for the rodent remediation committee. And of course, Jamie and Jay, their leadership has been really helpful coming in. So no, we have a great group. So thank you for.
Yeah, I want to second that, because having done the president's role for about 8 years before, I can say it is a lot of work, and it's sometimes it's not entirely thankless, because you do sometimes get thanks, but it's certainly critical work. And let me say one thing about the centralized trash bins. One of the things that we considered are considering that came up during the walkthrough is, for example, there's an area on Newland Place. That's the little part of the alley that backs up against the little playground at the corner of Shawmut and Upton. That when you look on trash day, there's about 20 bags there. There's room to put about 8 containers, which would be much far better than just having bags. So there are some places around the neighborhood where we can put a series of trash bins that would stay there. So something we're going to consider.
Thank you, Jamie. Yeah, and I think, and again, we have to determine as a committee and a board whether we want stationary bins, because we already store the bins that John uses after he cleans up the park and the streets on trash day. So as Jamie said, yeah, we would have to consider, would there be stationary bins? And sorry, I see Lenny's on too, and he's also a board member, and I didn't call him out either. So thank you, Lenny, for your work. Any other questions that anyone has about anything before we end this? Awesome. All right, easy meeting. 7:56, guys. We're done by 8 o'clock. I don't think we've ever had a meeting this short, but it made it easier that we didn't have a detailed information session with Tremont Street redesign. But again, I wanted to make sure that we had that information. So email me if you have questions, concerns. Thank you everyone so much for participating. And yeah, hopefully we'll see everyone in the park.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Abigail.
Bye.
Everybody.
Bye.
Yeah.